So tonight, I thought we would do the movie The Handmaiden by the director Park Chan-wook. Park Chan-wook famously did the Revenge trilogy, which is Old Boy, Lady Vengeance, and Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. Like those films, The Handmaiden is a film that focuses heavily on kind of like revenge. I think it's a good movie to watch because a lot of people in this community have watched Old Boy already, and I still want to introduce Park to some of the other people in the chat. We've done Japanese films, we've done Chinese films. It'll be nice to do a Korean film. I know a lot of people want to do Parasite. I think we'll eventually do Parasite, but I think this is a good place to start. So I'm going to give you the same warning I usually give film class quickly. This is a deeply fucked up movie. It's fucked up. There's a lot going on. There's some kinky in its true original sense. There's some really weird elements to this film. Yeah. All right. It's time. Snuggle in. Get yourself ready for the 2016 masterwork of director Park Chan-wook. This movie is in a different language, and it's rather confusing, okay? So you got to be paying attention. It's a difficult one. Get your snacks ready. Get your movie eyes ready. Thank you for that Twitch Prime. And get ready to go on a journey. Oh, yeah. Trigger warnings. Cool. This movie is a doozy. A lot happens. It's pretty violent and pretty intense. So, without further ado, here we go. Nice. So beautiful. Part 1. Dude, snacks and movies always look so tasty. Or is that just me being fat? I'm going to fill you guys in because this part's hard to follow. Basically, that guy is one of these, they're all basically thieves. And he found a score of a Korean guy who pretends to be Japanese and collects Japanese, like rare Japanese books, right? So he got hired to forge these Japanese books so that he can sell forgeries and keep the originals. All right. But the guy thinks that he is like a Japanese count. All right. Like a famous Japanese count who's doing this. So he's going to seduce the lady of the manor, who this chick who actually has all the wealth in her name. And then after he marries her, he's going to declare her insane. Now you know the plot. Guys, this is so fun to sit down and watch intellectual ass movies with you, chat. This is good shit. Yo, he off a perk for real, chat. My man off a perk for real. Why were his lips and tongue black? Because he reads so much. He licks the pages. It's ink. He's that much of a book Attic. Hassan literally is so in tune that he even gets away with it during my watch party. Oh, man. All right, so Raiders, just so you know, this movie is about a young woman who's recruited to scam an heiress that's being tricked by a con man so that he can marry her and steal all of her shit. This girl is the one who's conning her. I'll tell you when the con man comes in, you're all caught up. This is the con man right there. This is the con man. He's making forgeries for the master of the house. The master of the house is obsessed with Japanese literature, but he's Korean, but he pretends to be a Japanese guy. Caught up. This is way too hot. Chat, you have no idea. This is your trigger warning. It's about to get very hot. It's about to get inappropriately sexy. I love that right now I'm selling culture and boobs to the masses. Like, this is my dream. To culture Twitch chat by feeding them titties. You don't even realize that you're being enriched right now. You're taking in art from a foreign land, but like the booba in this movie is the spoonful of sugar I'm using to incept the education on you. I'm gonna culture you degenerates whether it kills me or not. Oh my. Uh-oh. Oh. Pepe run. People run. Oh, shit. Uh-oh. I wasn't going to miss this, boys and girls. It's about to get hot and heavy. Oh. Chat, you are getting cultured. I am culturing you the hard way. How do I reach these kids? How do I reach these damn kids? And I got some. Ooh, this looks so good. Thank you. My mom is taking the computer away. She says the third time she found Asian girls kissing on it. Tell your mom you're being enriched. Well, you should only really watch this stream if you're 18. That's why I put the age warning on it. But tell her that this is a movie that has a lot of value beyond just the kissing. You're learning about a time period or learning about another culture. It's good. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. The double cross! The double cross! Oh. Oh. See, that's what his mouth gets black from, by the way. He's licking that ink. Oh, oh God. This dude is such a scum fuck. Oh God. What a cut. What a shot. What a shot. So she reads the books, and then these rich guys bid on them. But they're forgeries, chat. He keeps the originals. This is what was happening in the book. He was fucking while getting strangled. That was the price he paid for 10 minutes with the Baroness. Now, the way they got that mannequin to do that was with some hat stiffener. So how many bottles can I put you down for, chat? This isn't a film class. This was a long ad. Now, how many bottles, chat? That was a 2-hour long ad for hat stiffener. Gotcha. Oh, God. Not the fucking basement. Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh, no. It's so funny that you can show all this shit as long as it's a fucking Amazon movie, right? Like, if I was just watching this on stream, I would be banned into oblivion. But because we're using Amazon Prime, you get to enjoy all the titties and culture in the world. Booba indeed. Guys, listen. It's it's fine to enjoy the booba, but also enjoy the film too, please. Please. I'm trying to culture you, D-gens. She's doing it from memory. Why do they have to trick the handmaid? Because they're going to have her take her place in the insane asylum because they know the uncle is going to come looking for them when they run off. This is a punishingly long sex scene, I will admit. It is punishingly long. It really is beautifully shot, though. And the sound design. Dude, it's literally the hand slap from Punisher. You know when Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger are like, this is the Pride lesbian version of that. So she was testing her here because she wanted to pull out, but she was still pushing her to get married. That's why she gave her that slap. Because she was like, I wanted to stop. I wanted to love you. Oh, slap. Oh, slap. Uh-oh. The double cross. Oh, the quadruple cross. Never mind. Back to the triple cross. Oh, no. So good how he just strikes a pose there. That what was in the basement, chat. He let that octopus fuck her aunt. That image from the book was real. Oh, and that was her earring. Oh, he just cut off his finger. The sound design in this film is insane. How it keeps you in the present while sending you in a fucking flashback with the sound in the present. Unreal. Oh, you thought it was just going to end? Hell nah. You got to get one last sex scene, baby. We're going to watch some of these credits because they're great. But please stick around because we're going to have a discussion of the film afterward. If this is your first film class. So the way that film class works, if this is your first one, is I kind of talk about the film without interruption for a little bit, and then we go into a question and answer portion afterward. As you probably know at this point, I chose this film for a very specific reason during this month. I wanted to show a film that I thought had a really cool pride element in it, but I didn't want it to be obvious. If I had mentioned that this was a pride film, I think it would have kind of hurt the overall enjoyment of it. And I think other films that are like pride films, they're like, you know what you're getting into, right? It's either Brokeback Mountain or Moonlight or Blue is the Warmest Color. And so I kind of wanted to slide one across the bow that would have like great pride energy without being an outright pride film, because I think that's the best way to like incept messages is to, you know, or to give messages is to like kind of incept them, right? So this was our pride film. Beyond that, I think that for me, one of the most underwatched category of film and television in the world is Korean drama. Korean drama is some of the best storytelling I've ever seen. It really is incredible. And so my message to you is, if you enjoyed this film tonight, this is literally the tip of the iceberg as far as Korean drama is concerned. Korean drama is on a level all its own. So are their horror movies. But if you enjoyed this film, literally there is a wellspring of movies and television shows that have this same energy. Burning, Old Boy, Lady Vengeance, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. There's a whole Memoirs of a Murder. Yeah, Memories of a Murder. Yeah, there is just an entire collection. So I hope for some of you, this has kind of opened up a passion for watching these type of films. Parasite, another obvious one. There's something, it's funny. America is obsessed with the hero's journey. I don't know what it is. We are obsessed with the hero's journey. Something like 80% of the blockbusters you will ever watch are just the hero's journey. We are obsessed with it. And listen, granted, we do it very well. But Koreans, they absolutely adore revenge stories. So whereas America loves a good underdog, Korea is obsessed with good revenge stories. So if you ever want to watch a good revenge story, Korea is so far beyond any other filmmaking area to tell revenge stories. They're all insane. There's 12 twists in every one of them, insane twists where you're like, what? M. Night Shyamalan level fucking mind boggles that go on. And they're just so worth watching. So if you found yourself enjoying this film tonight for reasons other than the obvious, I highly suggest going and watching other Korean films. We'll probably eventually watch more in this class, but don't wait. There's a whole catalog of foreign films, and this is a great microcosm of a lot of the Korean films that you could go watch. This film is a masterclass in so many ways. Park Chan-wook is a guy who his filmography it's nuts, man. His filmography is absolutely ludicrous. Speaking of some of those films you should go watch, I've been talking about his movies, Old Boy, Lady Vengeance, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Thirst. There are a bunch of films in there that are Stoker that are incredible movies, but I think The Handmaiden of all of them, in a weird way, is probably the most digestible. Maybe Lady Vengeance too, but the rest are very hard on the viewer. They are brutal, and I think The Handmaiden has these moments of humor and sincerity that make the film a ton more palatable. I think the humor in this film is really one of the most underrated, least talked about parts. When you walk away from this movie, it's so beautiful and it's so twisty and it's so dramatic that you forget that there are these incredible moments of humor in the movie, like when she lets go of her when she's hanging. I think that's one of the best slapstick beats I've seen probably in the last 20 years. And you're like, what the fuck? There's a slapstick beat in the middle of this absolutely tortured Korean drama. So it's, or when he's laying there with his ass cheeks out and he's like, hey, would you go grab my pants? I think it's that's really great filmmaking, right? Giving your audience these moments of reprieve in an otherwise just absolutely punishing movie. That's what, that's a mark of a really great filmmaker. Another thing that I hope you paid attention to in this movie are the cuts. Oh my God. So this is going to get a little bit more film technical, but when they are teaching you film, they basically teach you that there are, infinite ways to cut from A to B, right? For me to cut from here to a close-up, there are 1,000 ways to do that, right? And in this movie, Park basically shows you 999 of them. He has match cuts. He's got audio cuts where he'll cut to something else, but he'll have an audio from the last scene to keep you grounded. He'll have smash cuts. He's got fades. He literally, the way that this movie is stitched together is unbelievable. It's almost a flex. Like, it almost feels like he took it upon himself to thatch this movie together in every conceivable way you could. But almost every time, notice the cut enhances the film. The cut enhances the storytelling. And this is something that really, really great storytellers do, where they're using every piece of the animal, for lack of a better term, right? Nothing is wasted. The sound adds to the storytelling. The cuts add to the storytelling. The color adds to the storytelling. Everything is foreshadowing. It's a movie that, the great thing about Park films, and I'm going to be honest, Park films, the first time you watch them, even if you are a avid film watcher, most of the time you're bewildered, right? You get to the end of Old Boy and you're like, what the fuck? And that's kind of by design. I think Park wants you to go back and, once you get the film underneath you, go back and look for the breadcrumbs. Because there is some insane. I pointed a few out for you just because I really wanted you to pick up on them. The earring thing, oh my God. The earring thing, how it's originally you think they're a gift, and then in the second act you find out that he's giving them back because she gave them away, and then in the third act you find out that she gave them away because they are the earrings that her aunt wore when she was getting fucked by an octopus. That is amazing storytelling. And unless you're glued to the picture, you will totally miss that. You will absolutely miss that. And there are a lot of things in this movie like that. When she reclines on the doll, she does the same thing when she rides him. A lot of the sex positions you see, I don't know if you noticed, when they did the hand slap, when she's tearing up the smut, you see the actual panel from the Kama Sutra in which they're doing the same position. So the plant and payoff in this movie is, for lack of a better term, ludicrous. If you have the chance to go back and watch this movie again, I highly recommend you do it, because it will almost feel like you are watching a different movie. For the simple fact that you have perspective on what you just watched. The first time you watch this movie, it feels like you are on some twisted, fucked up Korean roller coaster. And then when you watch it the second time, it feels like, when you get done with a roller coaster and they have that panel of televisions that show you what you just looked like on the roller coaster, when you're and you can buy it as a keychain. That's what a second viewing of this film feels like, because you get to kind of just appreciate the details without being so floored by the absolute ridiculousness of this very feasible story, right? This story is the best thing about this story is, unlike Old Boy and Lady Vengeance, which are a little I wouldn't say absurdist, but clearly fantasy. This film has this really interesting historical tie-in that makes really interesting commentary on Japanese imperialism and like the birth of like sex trafficking or, you know, like smut and its place within art. And I mean, really deep and interesting things to consider. I think the other great thing about this movie, and this is something I always talk about, in my humble opinion, I do not think there are enough good female protagonists in film and television. I feel like they are always written by people who just miss the mark, and you end up resenting them, and they're not fun, and they're not cool. Like the Black Christmas remake, it just became like this weird performative, and you're not rooting for any of these women, and it's just like, ugh. But I love showing movies that absolutely clap cheeks, right? We watched Aliens, which is like a perfect example of how to do a female protagonist. And I think this is a good example of how to do a female anti-hero. I don't think either of the main character women in this movie are like upstanding protagonists, right? And it's very rare you get to see a female anti-hero, right? Kind of scummy characters that you're still rooting for. Because when you really think about this movie, the regal woman was the one who had the idea to fuck over this chick in the first place. She was the one who roped the guy in, not the other way around. This wasn't some woman being led into a bad event. She plotted this. This was her idea. And then obviously the other girl, the handmaiden, is a total thief, and you're still rooting for him, which most of the time you write a female protagonist. Like I was watching the remake of Wrong Turn last night, and they're just like, they make this main character like so noble to a fault that it's almost like, what the fuck? What the hell? What is she, running for office? She's like, there's right and there's wrong. And she literally actually said that in the film. And I was sitting there and I was like, no, there's not. Has this writer ever lived a day in the real world? There's no such thing as hard right and hard wrong. Give me a complex character that I can still root for. You know what I mean? And this movie is perfect at that. There's just a bunch of scumbags. You end up falling in love with the love between the two of them, and you root for them, right? The whole time you're just rooting for them. You're like, oh my God, I hope they slime their way out of this. I want them to have the money at the end. The other thing that I want to talk about, and you need to be adult for this section, but if you ever wanted to know how to tastefully film a sex scene, put this movie on loop. There are sex scenes, and then there is what happens in The Handmaiden. Literal tableaus of like insanely highly choreographed, unbelievable. Star Park 5, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. I appreciate you. This film takes sex scenes to a place where they become their own art form. It's unreal. Like, and I'm going to be honest with you, I really enjoy films like Blue is the Warmest Color, right? Good example, where basically the director just put two very attractive women together and was like, fuck each other. And you got a really hot scene. Park does something totally different. This is not a, hey, just get in there and wing it and make it hot. Park is painting a picture. Literally, he's taking panels from the smut and he's recreating them. And within the sex scenes, he's getting enormously creative with camera placement, with blocking. Dude, you guys have all been saying it, but that coochie cam is going to stick with you. No other director has done a POV from a pussy before, all right? I challenge you. Go find me a POV pussy eating shot in a film that probably should have won an Academy Award. You could probably find it in a porn, But in a movie that probably should have won an Academy Award, they are few and far between. All right, there might be 2 other ones. My man redefined the game. Okay, and that's what we always talk about in this class, right? We talk about filmmakers who get really good at making film and then they break it. It won like 63 awards. Yeah, I know that. I said an Academy Award. Which is arguably the most pretentious and prestigious award of all. And I don't think it won an Academy Award. It deserved to win all of them, though. But again, like, this is what great filmmakers do. They learn. Where can I watch some of his other films? I think Old Boy's on Prime. I think that more so than Can, I would say so. Where did I got lost. Fuck. I got lost. So is Lady Vengeance. Lady Vengeance is bomb. Lady Vengeance is so good. I love Lady Vengeance. Talk about a good female protagonist. Oh my God. Anyway, though this film is just absolutely beautiful. It's written to a point where it almost feels like you're digesting like a crime novel. There's twists, there's turns. It's hauntingly beautiful throughout. Phil Aesthetics, thank you so much for the 5. Here's what I will say. When you make the violence in your movie still unbelievably beautiful, you are too talented, right? They have octopus rape in this movie, and the octopus still looked beautiful. That's difficult. He made the fucking mercury poison at the end look like a goddamn fairy tale. He match cut mercury poisoning to the fog on the water that the 3 are rowing through. Unreal. He did a flickering smash cut of the guy's last breaths where he matches his breathing while dying to the breathing of his arousal while listening to her poetry. Yo. What? Jesus Christ, man. That's some serious shit. But this is what I'm saying. And this is a good lesson to learn from Park. This movie is a long movie. It is an exceptionally long movie, right? At the hour and 20-minute mark, y'all were like, there's 15 minutes left. Wrong. There was an hour and a half left. This is a very long movie, and at no point does it drag. At no point does it stagnate. This is almost a 3-hour movie, and every second of it is alive. We've talked about controlling the frame. We've talked about how great filmmakers express a level of control that is beyond what the typical filmmaker does. This is another lesson in this. There is no wasted space in this film. The storytelling moves like a Swiss watch. The act breaks are beautiful. You get different perspective with every watch. There is amazing plan and payoff. No wasted space. Hey, what's up, baby? I am not in the film. That's one of the best timing subs of all time. But truly, like, this film is a masterclass from top to bottom. Old Boy is another one of his movies. I highly suggest go watch it. Anyway, that is my rant for this film class. I hope you enjoyed this film class. I hope you come back again. That one more time. This was Chan Wook Park's Handmaiden. What a fucking amazing piece of art this is. This class, as well as the last class, will be going up on YouTube. So if you want to rewatch it or you want to show it to a friend or whatever, it will be up on YouTube shortly. The YouTube is coming back. So thank you. This was the part of the class where I speak at length. Now, we go into the Socratic method part of class. In this part of the class, you are allowed to ask questions about The Handmaiden. You are allowed to ask questions about another film, or you're allowed to ask questions about film in general. So I am opening up the floor. I am turning back on alerts, and here we go.
Which part of the movie made you really emotional? Mine was when they destroyed the hentai collection.
That's an emotional scene.
I'm ballsy.
And I think her aunt hanging herself is an emotional scene. Wow. The Oscars didn't give The Handmaiden an award because, it was because the president didn't want a lesbian movie to represent Korea at the Oscars. So he didn't let Park submit the movie to the Oscars. That is fascinating. How was he able to use the contrast of the steady and shaky cam so well? I think, that's a good question. I think whenever you put your camera on sticks for the majority of the film and then save your shaky cam for your most human moments, whether they be like action or in this case, fucking, those moments feel way more visceral. I find it incredible how incredibly tight the end of this film was in comparison to Oldboy. Oldboy's a pretty tight ending. I mean, Oldboy has a lot of like ambient storytelling at the end, but it moves. A lot of information comes out pretty well. Do you have a film degree or are you a passionate film lover? I have 2 film degrees. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in film.
When we did Fargo, you spoke about it being the perfect amount of dark. What made A Serious Man too dark for you?
A Serious Man is a lot like The Killing of the Sacred Deer, in my opinion, where like there are dark films and then there are films that are made to be punishing, right? There are films that are just meant to be like 2-hour-long rakes where you sit there and you just get your fucking head bashed in. And some of those films work, right? Like Uncut Gems works. It's a 2-hour-long punishment, but there are moments of like humor and joy and success peppered in there that keep it watchable, right? There are some movies though that just choose to be absolute drags. And A Serious Man is based on like what, Job or something like that, some biblical story. And so it's just basically a man getting ass fucked for 2 hours, and not in the hot gay way, like in the life is literally just shitting on him way. And there's no joy to be had, and you never experience any hope. It's basically just watching a man fall down for 2 hours. And I can't. It's just too painful. It's just too painful for me. It doesn't mean that it's not a great movie. I just didn't feel good watching it, if that makes any sense. And I didn't know why I was watching it. I didn't know what it was for other than to suffer, right? Like there's a movie where an example is like The House That Jack Built is a movie that is like 2 hours of suffering, but I understand why I'm watching it, right? It is a retelling of Dante's Inferno, but now the protagonist, instead of trying to make his way to Paradiso, is a serial killer trying to explain the art of serial killing to one of the great poets in history. And it's like at least a meditation of something, right? It's not just suffering for suffering's sake. I didn't walk away from the Serious Man like, oh, I have a better understanding of art or reality. I walked away from A Serious Man just like, wow, I just suffered for 2 hours. It was beautiful. It was well made, but I just suffered for 2 hours. That's my take. It doesn't mean it's a bad movie. I've never said it's a bad movie. It's just a movie that I have a hard time watching and probably wouldn't ever choose to watch again.
Top 3 non-mainstream movies that you'd recommend to experience more culture.
Top 3 El Orfanato.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm all tuned.
Spanish horror movie.
Music.
By Guillermo del Toro.
Buckley? And what are your thoughts on him if you have heard him?
I'm trying to think of other movies from other areas. La Haine from France. So you have a Spanish movie, a French movie, and Princess Mononoke. That's like a really good schmattering. A lot of people watch a lot of the films from that studio, and Princess Mononoke is like somehow the one that falls by the wayside. True Detective Season 1 is a revelation. It's one of the great seasons of television ever. It's incredible. That one tracking shot through that housing block is like one of the great tracking shots ever. The performances are insane. Everything is satisfying. It's here's the thing about True Detective. It had it, right? Give us a crime show with just
I'm a stud.
like a little bit of flavor, a drama with just a sprinkling of supernatural on it, and then the later seasons of True Detective, like they just rushed into them. They lost the supernatural element completely. Season 3 was good. No, it really wasn't. It was okay. It was watchable. I'm going to be honest. When you're writing a main character with dementia is really difficult because the viewer is at the mercy of their perspective. True Detective Season 3 just, I don't know. It just wasn't there. True Detective Season 1 is one of the great seasons of television. True Detective Season 2 is one of the most awful seasons of television. And 3 is like, I'd give it like a strong 7.5. Dude, give me back the supernatural element. Give me back the supernatural element, God damn it. Give me the fucking supernatural part. Why did you take the supernatural part out of True Detective? It's what powered the show.
Ever get the chance, please cover a Villeneuve film. He's the biggest homegrown Canadian director out right now.
Yeah, Villeneuve, dude, you know what? I'm going to be honest. I did not give Blade Runner 2049 enough credit when it first came out. I think he just misses the mark a little bit on 2049, but it really is beautiful. It really is a beautiful film. I think he misses the mark just enough. But dude, Prisoners, we might have to do. Is Prisoners on Amazon Prime? Prisoners is that dank. Prisoners is that danky dank. It's actually better than the OG. Whoa, come on, baby. Stop. Come on now. Don't go crazy. It's good. It's a very good movie. Blade Runner is like the daddy of all sci-fi. Luke Corpse asked about the scene in Fight Club, the I want you to hit me scene with boxing streamers. The reason I had such a visceral reaction to the question is because literally Fight Club is an analysis of like Return to Monkey, right? The place of violence within like an anarcho primitive, like obsessed lifestyle in which they cast out the value of like money and society. And influencer boxing is literally the opposite of that. Influencer boxing is literally people in their 20s making cash grabs, right? So to herald those boxing matches as anything other than young men trying to get more money and have more sex with better looking people and get more attention, and then conflate that with the message of like one of the great meditative projects on the evils of capitalism and fame and success, like literally the two have nothing in common with each other. And it's actually a really interesting conundrum, because I think in the same way that a lot of people misinterpret American Psycho, a lot of people misinterpret Fight Club as like a movie that is being made to like canonize or lionize the value of violence, right? It's amazing because like Brad Pitt is so hot and so compelling as an actor, and so is Edward Norton, that you watch that movie, and even though he's a fucking psychopath, because he's good looking, so good looking, like once in a generation good looking, the lizard part of your brain wants to make him a hero, right? The lizard part of your brain is like, look at Brad Pitt. He's the hottest person I've ever seen. He has to be the hero of this film. Violence is good. I want to make soap. I want to fuck while wearing yellow dishwashing gloves, right? And this happens a lot with the best actor. This is called best actor syndrome, okay? This happens in a lot of films, right? This happens in Silence of the Lambs, right? Sir Anthony Hopkins is the best actor in that film. Everybody's a good actor in that film. I'm not talking down on anybody, but Anthony Hopkins is the best fucking actor in that movie, and maybe at the time, one of the best actors in the world. And so he does such a fucking good job as Hannibal Lecter that you, the audience, in your lizard brain is kind of like, hey, maybe eating people is cool, right? And so you get these kind of conflated signals where, because your brain is functioning on this like charisma, you know, I am monkey standpoint where you follow a king or a god before yourself, Dr. Lecter becomes a hero in that movie. In fact, his acting job was so compelling that in latter films, basically Hannibal Lecter is rewritten and repurposed to be an anti-hero in the same way that Venom is, right? It's a really interesting conundrum. But no, Luke Corpse, I don't think the films really have, at least from the artist standpoint, anything in common other than that people really like violence. Down in their core, people like to watch violence, right? There's something very compelling and primal. And the one thing I would say from Fight Club that carries over into the influencer world is that I think everybody thinks that they're made of glass, right? Everybody thinks that they're made of glass, just like he says in Fight Club, until you get punched in the face and you realize you're not going to die, right? And there's something freeing about that. And I think these influencers are all getting a taste for violence, right? They're all young men who have been coddled their entire lives, who are enormously rich. And then they get into that ring and they feel violence for the first time and they go, hey, wait a minute. This is as much a part of my DNA as anything else I do. Top 3 spoof comedies, Robin Hood Men in Tights, Shaun of the Dead, and Airplane. Okay, here we go. Django. I have the same take on Django as I do Inglourious Bastards. They're great films, okay? Whenever I'm going to give criticism, I'm going to start with the baseline. Both of those films are tremendous films. I enjoyed them both enormously. I give them mid-nines out of 10, right? Great films, enjoyable. Are they as good as Quentin Tarantino's early work? No. Why do people love them so much? They're porn, right? We've all wanted to watch a black guy kill a slave owner, and we've all wanted to watch Jews kill Nazis, right? It's like fantasy fulfillment. There's something enormously satisfying about watching the Bear Jew smash the heads in of Nazis. And there's something enormously satisfying about watching Django kill a bunch of slave owners, right? It is enormously satisfying. It's like fan service, right? For us left folk. And it's great. Are those films as solidly made as his early films? No. Jackie Brown, Pulp Fiction, they're just better movies. I don't know what else to say to you. I love those films, but those early movies are just like, oh, Jackie Brown is a fucking masterwork, dude. Death Proof, Death Proof's all right. Death Proof is is his like rebuke to horror movies and women being stalked and kills in horror movies, right? It's defying expectations, and it's like, again, it's like porn, because Quentin Tarantino likes making porn. I respectfully disagree. Okay, here's what I'm going to say to you, and I want you to understand this. When I say Quentin Tarantino likes making porn, I'm not just saying this facetiously. Quentin Tarantino has a long, long history of indulging his like primal fantasy, right? There is a reason that almost every one of his films has a long, unbroken film foot shot in it. It's because he does fantasy fulfillment, right? And whereas early in his career, it was something that was just peppered in there, as he became more famous, his fantasy indulgement became way more indulged, I don't know, than it was before. And sometimes I think it actually kind of hurts the storytelling, in my opinion. I think that Reservoir Dogs, Jackie Brown, Pulp Fiction, and True Romance are four of like my favorite movies in history. The characters are eternal. The stories are unique. They literally became a baseline for how you tell those type of crime dramas, right? There is a reason that there are so many movies that play out like Pulp Fiction now, because it set the standard, right? Later in his career, it became fantasy fulfillment. Kill Bill was two movies that he made because he was in love with kung fu movies. Inglourious Bastards and Django were basically like revisionist history films that he made because he wanted to get back at fascists. He fucking hates fascists. We all do. So those movies are great. They're so much fun. Are they some of the best works of storytelling I've ever seen? I mean, they're all right. And then, in my opinion, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is like his rebuke of Hollywood, right? He was a guy who used to rewind videotapes for a living. And so it's like his weird rebuke of the town that he lives in now. And it's amazing that like this guy who did these things and like published these giant rebukes is still, you know, gets the critical rule of Hollywood coming in, right? Like they raked him because they thought that, what's her face? What's her name? Margot Robbie. Like Hollywood thought Margot Robbie didn't have enough speaking roles, right? Or enough speaking role in his film. So they tried to cancel him. They're like, you misused Margot Robbie. She didn't have enough speaking roles. And he was like, what did he say? I reject your hypothesis was the line. I don't know. I also have a really interesting theory about the way that he portrayed Bruce Lee in this film. This is a Villeneuve theory, and it's total conspiracy theory. But I think he portrayed Bruce Lee so poorly in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because famously Bruce Lee was anti like exploitation kung fu movies, right? He thought that they were bad for martial arts and he thought that they were bad for mainland China, like or the greater China. Sorry, not mainland China. And, you know, this is probably because he trained under Ip Man and had a enormous depth of his appreciation in martial arts. And so movies like Enter the Dragon are a rebuke of classic kung fu movies. And those classic exploitation kung fu movies, just like classic blaxploitation films, are some of Quentin Tarantino's favorite movies. So I think, like, ironically enough, or strangely enough, Tarantino took Bruce Lee speaking ill of those films as a personal insult. And when he had a chance to make him look shitty on camera, that was his way of getting back at Bruce Lee for disagreeing with the films he liked. Have you seen Memento? Yes. I think Memento is like that independent film that people like really love, is like one of their first independent films. It's like very digestible. All right, guys, I've talked myself blue. I gotta cut myself off. I've talked myself blue. We've gone through film class. This is film class. I'm calling it. I gave you guys a full hour of question and answer, and I just get exhausted. So listen, if you didn't get your question answered, come back next Sunday. We do it every Sunday. We have the best goddamn film community maybe on the internet now because of you guys. And just know that the only reason that I get upset at the alerts is because I want to have the time to give everyone's question the time it deserves, right? I want to make sure that every question that gets asked, I have the time to like give it full thought. And so the only reason I got upset is I got upset at myself, basically, that I didn't have the ability to just blast out answers faster. I was just getting frustrated that I was like cucking my answers and not giving thorough, well thought out answers to people who had well thought out questions for me. So please do not think that I was getting upset with you or your alerts. I was getting upset with my inability to provide everything that I want to provide for you. Anyway, I hope you had a good time. I hope you enjoyed The Handmaiden. I hope you enjoyed my summation of The Handmaiden, and I hope you enjoyed the question and answer part of the class, which is kind of my favorite part because I get to get all these awesome suggestions. Guys, I actually love when you give suggestions, and I watch a lot of them. So I can't guarantee I will watch all of them because I simply have not the time. But know that, you know, your recommendations don't just fall on dead ears. I make the time to watch a lot.
Oh, that's very cool.
A lot of these films. And that's it. Thank you. That's film class. Guys, thank you. If this was your first time here, I hope you come back. For all my long timers, I fucking love you. I said it earlier, but there's something uncanny and remarkable and inspiring.
Baby smile.
And inspiring
Hell yeah.
about the fact that when we watch these movies, they're probably the largest viewing of these films that have ever happened. Like, that is amazing to me, that not only do I get to do something that I love, but I get to share it with more people than have ever watched these films collectively ever. There's something amazing about that, and I'm so fucking blessed to be able to do something like that. I can't tell you. So to my normal community, and then within that normal community, to my film community, I love you guys. I hope this class inspires you to make your own art. I'm telling you that you have amazing stories within you, and if nothing else, I hope this class inspires you to tell those stories, because stories have amazing power to inspire, to heal, to change, to touch, and to have some very good booba in it. But that's few and far between. Thank you for changing my life. Thank you for allowing me to do something so fun. And thank you for just sharing this with me, because it truly is the highlight of my week every week. As always, stay dangerous. Have a wonderful evening. I will be back at 7 o'clock tomorrow. And in the meantime, stay dangerous.